Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Arena Maximus, you know, the game you've been searching for, the chariot racing game with the fantasy tropes tacked onto it. This is an older Silverline game from Fantasy Flight Games, and it comes in a little bit bigger box than the little custom skinny ones that you're used to from the Silverline line of games. What you're going to get here is chariot racing, absolutely, but with orcs and dwarfs and the like. Each player will have a different character with different attributes that will be going through. Are the characters balanced? I don't know. I didn't play it enough. I'm sure they are, but they definitely do play differently. And your strategies will have to be different depending on which character you have. You know, if you have somebody that can take a lot of damage, maybe you'll just kind of run through everybody. If you don't take a lot of damage, you need to be more nimble as you're going through. So there's a few things that are going on here. Very simple game to play. Very easy. Almost anybody can play with this. Now, some things to have going against it. It has the nerd factor, right? It has the fantasy trope on this. And so a lot of people aren't going to get that, right? But it does have the variable powers, which kind of makes up for that. And I almost kind of want to see this game without the fantasy tropes, maybe something a little different on it. But it's a chariot racing game. And that kind of puts it into a niche, right? So there's a few chariot games that come out. There's Ave Caesar, and there's Chariot Race. I think that Matt Leacock did that one. So there's a few of these are out there, and most of them don't go far away from the chariot and the chariot racing. And this one, you know, it has the fantasy tropes that might appeal to you a little bit more. At the end of the day, it's a racing game. And if you look at it as a racing game and not a chariot racing game, all of a sudden there is a lot more competition on the market. Let me say, this one is simple. It gives you a little bit of flexibility with the different variable powers. And it's one that you can play with most anybody if they can get over the nerd factor of the fantasy trope. So I think that plays into it. It's a little dated. I mean, it doesn't look that great. You know, if this game was produced today, I'm sure Fantasy Flight would find a way to have the miniatures on the board and things would look a lot better than it does. And it's a little thing where you're going around and you flip over and kind of see what you run into a little bit. But it's fun. So this is a really fun, if you're looking for a budget-priced chariot racing game, this could definitely be it. If the fantasy tropes are important to you, they'll go up through the roof for you. So, you know, if it's something you missed out on, it might be something you want to go back and try. For me, it's going to be a Purge. You know, chariot racing, I think I can get it elsewhere. Or racing in general, I don't think we need a chariot racing. The fantasy kind of brings it down a little bit for me. And, you know, there's just so many racing games. I can't keep them all. And Arena Maximus did not make the cut. So this Arena Maximus is a Fantasy Flight game. Looks like the Silverline, but it was a much bigger box. I don't know the story about why these are bigger than the other ones. Here's a rule book, which is a nice size, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes. Then you're going to get a mess of, these are the chariots you'll have. Each one is going to have different stats on them, as you can see, 118, 217, 136. Then you're going to have a wounded side on it. You will have these tiles, which will make up the board, as you'll see. They'll be face over, and they'll move up as you go. And you're going to have any number of cards in this game. There's a ton of cards in here. They're pretty good quality. I don't mind them. They're like this like medium size, but they just have simple artwork on that's repeated quite a bit. You know, this may not be to everyone's taste. But overall, for a Silverline production, I found it to be pretty good. You have a semi-custom insert with a place in here where the cards can go, etc. Not too bad at all. Okay, here's a rule book. It's not going to be in color. It's a picture of a non-colored version of the front of the box. It's going to be multiple languages. It's going to look longer than it should be. For the most part, you're going to have pretty small font, to be honest, because they're trying to squeeze it in here. Picture of setup, picture of the cards, and a little bit of an explanation before you get into the game. I think it's really important to kind of digest that down. And then when you play through the game, all the little things that can happen. Then a list of the tile icons, game in, some optional rules if you want to. And that's it. Just the 4 pages. Font is small, but a lot of this is just reference material as you're going through the game. Okay, so here's the board kind of set up. I don't have it all set up correctly, but everybody's going to choose a different character. You're going to have a few things here. Your wheel size, that tells you if you're damaged or not, so if you can see if you're damaged on your other side. You're going to have your beast mode, your driver score, and your chariot score. I'll explain what all this means. Everybody's going to pick one, but your stats are all going to be a little bit different, as you can tell. These little markers here will be the people that you're actually racing around the board. And you can just kind of set them like this. You don't have to be on the tile so everybody can see it. But just so you know where everybody is at. So you're going to have the start and the finish, and you're going to be racing around the board. Now, these tiles are double-sided. I wanted to show you that. So you'll have some, this isn't necessarily the correct tiles, but you'll have some tiles set up where you're moving, and as you move forward, you'll start flipping these over so people can see what is kind of there. So it's kind of more dangerous to go first. but the other players can see them as they go up. Now, when you're moving, you always move whoever's in last place. So let's say it's something like, maybe something like this that is set up. Then this person will go first, then this person is, and so on. That would be the turn order of the game. Now, you do have a few things here. Like I said, this is the icon to tell you if you're damaged or not. This one right here is going to be the B score. This is how quickly you can change your speeds, okay? I'll come back to that. This right here is going to be your driver score. Indicates how many cards you can discard before refreshing your hand. And this will be a chariot score, how much damage you take. So you won't flip this over until you take 6 damage, then you flip that one over. This one right here will take 5 damage, and then you would flip it over. But as you can see, he can discard more cards than this person. Now, this person will flip over on 6. As you can see, not quite as good. And then this one will be 7 damage before it flips over, but it has the 2 and the 1 there. So, are they completely balanced? I don't know. This one takes 8 damage, but he's a little bit slower and can't change as much as the dwarves. Your mileage may vary, but I think there's some different strategies that go into these. So everybody's going to have 7 cards that are going to be in their hands. So the first thing you're going to do is set your speed. So let's say we've been playing the game for a little bit, and I'm just going to put this here in the center just for you to be able to see. You would place these in front of you. So let's say he has 2 speed here. I can play a card from my hand, and I can increase the speed. So now my speed would be 3 tiles. So let's say I'm this guy right here. I can move 1, 2, 3 tiles on my turn. Or if I want to reduce my speed, say I had 3 out here, and the next turn I want to reduce it, I can discard one of these cards from the pile and reduce my speed down. For strategic purposes, I might want to speed down. Now, if you look here on your tile, this person, because of the B score, I could discard up to 3 cards from it, where this person can only discard 1 card. So they're not going to be able to change the speed as much. I could play 3 cards because this person has a 3. So that would be the main thing between the B scores, how quickly you can change the speeds, which can be very important. It can be a very big factor in the game. Now, the next part is my driver score. I can discard that many cards. If this is my person, I could discard maybe 2 cards from my hand I don't want. If I were this person, I could discard up to 3 cards. It's based on whatever the score is, and maybe I don't want these cards, I would just discard them out of my hand. Now I'm down to 3. Now, since I only have 3 cards, I can draw up to 7. So now I have 7 cards in my hand going into the movement phase of the board. So once again, I'm going to move the number of whip cards I have. So if I were here, 1, 2, 3, and that would put me right here, and then that person would go. Now, you can ram people. If you want to ram them from behind, that is fine. In order to do so, I have to give up a rain card and a whip card for my hand. Now, I may give up. I can do as many as my driver score. So in this case, I could do 2. This guy, I could do 3 pairs if I happen to have them in my hand. But I would give this up, and I would be able to ram them. Now, the person I'm ramming, let's say I wanted to ram this guy from behind, he could block it by also giving up pairs. And that's going to be a going thing. Anytime I do something in this section, it can be blocked by an equal response from the defender. Now, if I'm moving in past him, he can try to block me. He could block me by giving up rain cards. Once again, I could give up a rain card and block it, and we continue to do that. And your driver score is going to dictate how many that you can play. I'm not going to go too much in detail on this, but just know that these tiles are going to have effects on them. They're all listed in the board. This is a jump piece right here. Each jump tile is a rating. When he moves into a jump tile, you have at least as many cards in your speed pile. So once again, if this is me, I could go over this jump as long as I had at least 2 whip here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to make the jump, and maybe I would be damaged. Then the last thing you can do is you can attack people. And you will discard whip cards from your hand to attack people. And once again, you're going to use your driver score to determine. So this person can play 2 whip cards. This person can be 3. Once again, it can be canceled with a like card by the opponent who's being attacked. When you take damage, if you take enough damage up to this amount, then you would flip this over and you would be wounded during the game. The first person to get to the finish line is going to be your winner. And that's just a quick overview of how you play. Who should buy this game? I would say, chariot racing people, fantasy fans, you want a cheaper racing game, this could be it. It's very easy, has the variable powers that's going to be appealing to some people. I don't know who this game is for nowadays. I mean, is there a big mix between people who love fantasy, people who love chariot racing. I mean, if you hit that Venn diagram, I guess you're in that box. If you want a budget-priced racing game and this just sounds interesting to you, fine. Children can easily play this game. Non-gamers can't. They get over the theme a little bit. With that said, I think I would go over Chariot Race by Matt Leacock over this. So I don't know where this fits into the pandemonium of games and having to own them all and having to play them all. But this is one you might want to skip. So for me, it'll be a Purge.